Hello, and welcome to In Touch with Durham County. I'm Deborah Craig-Ray, Chief Communications Officer. I'm happy to announce a new addition to our show. I'm now joined by County Commission Chair Brenda Howerton, who will now co-host our show.
Thank you, Deborah. I am absolutely pleased to be with you today. I'm excited about our guest and just got some great information for our audience today.
Absolutely. In our ever-growing region, transportation registers as a top on a list of critical issues. Ellen Beckmann, Transit Planning and Services Manager, joins us today to talk about the Durham County Transit Plan and related transportation issues. In our second segment, we're going to have a chat about a few issues going on with Durham County Government, and we're going to talk about some topics that we might visit in future shows. So, as we said, Ellen Beckmann is here to give us an overview of Durham County transportation issues. Chair Howerton, let's begin our questioning.
Thank you, Deborah, and thank you, Ellen, so much for joining us. Please tell us a bit about your role with Durham County and what are your primary responsibilities as our transit and planning service manager.
Thanks. Very excited to be here at Durham County. I've worked in Durham for more than 15 years in transportation. Started at Durham County about 3 years ago. So the county's role is primarily in policy and funding in terms of transportation. In North Carolina, counties don't own or maintain roadways. They're all owned and maintained by municipalities and NCDOT. But the county has a role on various policy boards that help direct how funding is applied to projects in the county. And we work closely with our partners, at the city and NCDOT on roadway type projects. In terms of public transit, though, Durham County has more of a bigger role. Back in 2011, Durham County voters approved a half-cent sales tax for public transit improvements. So it's a county-wide funding source. And we work with our partners at the Go Triangle and the Durham Chapel Hill Carver Metropolitan Planning Organization in deciding how those funds are spent and applied to improve public transit in Durham.
Thanks, Ellen. And could you talk a little bit about our role as far as the county commissioner's role in relation to transit?
So transportation involves a lot of regional coordination, obviously. These are big projects that help decide how our community grows. And of course, many residents of Durham County commute outside of the county for work or education, and vice versa. People commute to Durham for jobs. So there's a lot of regional coordination. There's several regional boards that are set up to help direct transportation funding. I mentioned earlier the Durham Chapel Hill Carver Metropolitan Planning Organization, which is a mouthful, but it's DCHCMPO. So that is a regional board with elected officials from Durham, Orange, and Chatham counties that get together every month to talk about transportation. They are legally required to approve any state and federal funding. So that's an important role to help direct and make sure that there's local accountability and a local voice in how those funds are spent. So there's that, and then there's also the Go Triangle Board, which consists of elected officials and other appointed officials from Durham, Orange, and Wake counties. So the commissioners serve on that board. Chair Howerton is currently serving on that board.
Yeah, thank you, Ellen. This is a regional board that we serve on, and we are so thankful for your part in your participation. One of the things that I say to the community all the time is, commissioners, we don't get anything done by ourselves. Without expertise of folks like yourself, we couldn't get the work that we get done. So, there are some priorities that we have with Go Triangle, and and transportation. Could you say a little bit more about what the priorities are, and what projects that we have right now?
Yeah, so the Durham County Transit Plan is required to be approved by the county commissioners, the Go Triangle Board, and the MPO Board. And we recently approved a new Durham County Transit Plan in the spring of 2023 to direct how that county sales tax funding will be spent. It's a long-range vision plan, goes out about 30 years. There's about $40 million per year generated by that sales tax. So that funding source, in combination with a couple other funding sources, results in more than $1 billion over through 2030. So that plan, recently adopted, has 4 kind of key themes for improvement. The first is to improve the current system. So we did a lot of public outreach with bus riders and people who use transit today. And one of the things we heard loud and clear from the public was that they wanted the bus services to work more efficiently, be operating more times of the day, later at night, more reliably, more frequent service, and also wanted our facilities to be improved. So a big priority of the plan is to improve the current Go Durham and Go Triangle bus system. So there's various bus service improvements funded in the early years of the plan. Another priority of the plan was a better experience at stops and stations. So the plan is funding and is committed to the improvement of all bus stops in Durham. It will take a while. There's a lot of bus stops in Durham. But little by little, we will get it done. And this includes, providing sidewalks, a concrete pad, shelters, where appropriate, at every bus stop in Durham. We're trying to work up to about 75 bus stops completed per year. There's also station improvements, like at the main downtown bus station. There's plans to improve that, provide better shelter and better facilities for bus riders, and also various neighborhood transit centers throughout the community. So there's those 2 priorities. We also have a priority to improve regional transit. So we want to provide better regional connections. Like I said, a lot of people commute across counties. So a large portion of the funding is set aside to provide quick and reliable regional connections. We're going to be initiating a bus rapid transit study this coming year to look at if we could apply bus rapid transit to Durham, connecting both within Durham to our major destinations like downtown, Duke, NCCU, Durham Tech, but also connecting to Chapel Hill and connecting to RTP. So that's going to get underway, and then we have funding set aside in the future to implement what is recommended from that study. And then lastly, the last priority of the plan was to have more projects sooner. We've had this funding source since 2011, and we heard that people don't want to wait necessarily 20 years for big projects to all get done. I will say bus rapid transit is a big project, and it will take a while to get implemented. But nonetheless, we think there's a lot of opportunities to improve things in the short term, like those bus stop improvements, like the service improvements. So we funded a lot of projects in the early years of the plan. So that's I guess, the summary of what's in the Durham Transit Plan. There's a lot of projects because it's $1 billion. And we'll continue to, update and evolve the plan, as Durham grows. Transit and the region isn't static, so we'll always be revisiting it on a regular basis to see if there's new priorities or reordered priorities.
That's very good, Ellen. Thank you. So I know we initiated some changes to the administration and governance of the transit plan this year. What changes were made, and how will that affect our residents?
So we initiated and approved several interlocal agreements between the county, Go Triangle, and GCHC MPO. Those agreements set a new framework for how we work together in the administration of the funding. One of the primary changes is that the Durham County Commissioners will approve the annual budget moving forward. So the County Commissioners and Go Triangle boards will both approve the annual budget, and it will allow for more of a local voice and local accountability in how the funds are spent. The other change is that we added the City of Durham staff to the staff committee that oversees the funding. So again, broadening the responsiveness of local government and the participation from local government in the process. Also, a lot of the agreements set up a framework by which we can provide better project reporting and accountability. So we're going to be getting regular updates from our project sponsors on what's done, and then implementing a website that tracks our projects and reports that out to boards and the public. So, one of the things we heard throughout the process was that the public wanted more transparency and more accountability in the funding. So we're setting up the structure that will allow for that moving forward.
Very good, very good. Now, we know that Chair Howerton serves on the Go Triangle Board of Trustees. What are the priorities and opportunities for regional transit in our area?
So I can answer, and if Chair Howerton wants to pipe in, that's fine.
Yeah, go ahead. It's such a major responsibility to serve on the regional Go Triangle Board of Trustees, because you're really making decisions for the whole region. And the fiduciary responsibility of being on that board for me it means so much. It's major that we make the best decisions for the region. So go ahead, Ellen, and talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so we're going to be studying bus rapid transit this coming year. We funded a study to look at that. We are also working with our partners at NCDOT and across the region on a new study called the FAST study, which is both of those are related, and they're looking at how we can provide better and faster bus service throughout the region. The frequency and reliability of the bus services, looking at better stations, and just looking at better coordination across the 3 counties.
And we've talked a little bit about the BRT, the bus system, and having it be a regional system versus each county doing their own BRT. So at the board level, at the Go Triangle Board of Trustees, we're having those conversations right now as well. And, Ellen, there was a $1.5 million federal dollars that Durham received for repair, a repair project. Could you talk a little bit about what that project is and how it benefits the community?
Yes, last fall, Durham County applied for a railroad crossing elimination grant through the Federal Railroad Administration. Our project was called Durham Repair, and it is focused on 3 railroad crossings in East Durham at South Plum Street, South Driver Street, and West Ellis Road. So those 3 crossings have a history of safety issues. There have been many crashes there, unfortunately, and they rate highly in terms of risk, in terms of railroad crossings throughout the state. So we wanted to look at those crossings, conduct a planning study to determine whether we can improve them, and if we should. So I do want to emphasize it's a planning study. It's going to be looking at community engagement, economic effects, the engineering of how to improve the railroad crossings, to determine if there is a good solution, and then do some of the preliminary engineering of what that solution may look like. So it may include railroad grade crossing closures or new connections, new bridges or underpasses across the railroad. And also, looking at what effect that has on the community, and making sure that we mitigate for any impacts that are there. So it's exciting. We got this federal grant, so 80% federal funding to conduct the study, and it will help make sure that we can do a really comprehensive community engagement process, and also set up the projects for future state or federal funding.
I just wanted Ellen to say a little bit about the railroad. The community may say, so why is it so difficult? What's going on with the railroad? Durham County doesn't own any railroads. Could you just share a little bit about the relationship between the railroads and Durham and how we make this happen?
Well, it's complex.
Yeah.
Durham was founded as a railroad station way back when, and the railroads really integrated into our community's fabric and the roadway network very closely. We have a lot of at-grade railroad crossings throughout the community. The railroad here is the North Carolina Railroad. It's owned by a private entity that is 100% owned by the state. So it's kind of a unique state resource here. Obviously, it's used by freight railroad companies and also Amtrak. So there's a lot of partners involved when it comes to railroad coordination, both state, federal partners. And the way that Durham's infrastructure is set up is that the railroad goes right through the heart of the city. So it is complex, and we're working with our partners to determine how we can improve railroad crossings and services throughout Durham.
So what I hear is takes a lot of collaboration across the region for us to make this happen. And I know that Durham is known for collaboration, and I think the region can be that collaborative region to make this happen. So the other question that I may have is, the other question is around bikes projects, transportation around bikes projects. I know I've seen a lot and heard a lot about what's happening with projects around bikes. Any information you can share about that with our last question here?
Yeah. So again, Durham County doesn't own and maintain roadways. So we also do not own or maintain bikeways. Most of the facilities you see are constructed and maintained by the city or NCDOT. That being said, there are a lot of priorities and needs throughout Durham in terms of biking and walking, both in the city and in the county. Especially increasingly with Durham's growth and development, there's increasingly subdivisions and new developments kind of on the fringes of the city, and a lot of times you have to go through the county to get between destinations. So because of that need, we are initiating a city and county bike and ped and greenways plan this coming year. So Durham County is going to be working with our partners at the city to evaluate the needs throughout the county, set priorities, make recommendations for funding. And so I think that there may be a larger role for the county moving forward. We want to go through that process, involving the community, involving the governing boards, making sure that we're coordinated between the city and county before kind of recommending what that's going to look like. But we're committed to initiating this plan this next year. So again, it will involve a lot of community engagement.
Well,
Right.
I just want to say thank you to both of you because you're both our transportation experts. And this is such an important and complicated issue. And I hate we're running out of time, but I tell you what, we're going to have Ellen come back on another show, and we're going to pick up some more of these important topics around transportation. Does that sound like a good idea, Chair Howerton?
Sounds wonderful. Thank you so much, Deborah, and for highlighting this conversation, because it is one of Durham's and the region's top priorities right now. So thank you. I look forward to the next conversation. Thanks so much, Ellen, for being here and sharing all the things that you do. And you got a big job. So thank you for sharing your information with us.
Thank you so much, Ellen, and we'll have to have you back.
Thank you so much. This was fun.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Have a wonderful day.
Yes, absolutely.
Bye.
So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about what's been going on in Durham County and take a look at some of our future shows. Stay with us. We'll see you on the other side.
Do you have prediabetes? North Carolina residents with prediabetes can enroll in a free or low-cost national diabetes prevention program. Trained coaches are standing by. Get started now at joinaprogram.org.
Well, welcome back to In Touch. Chair Howerton, it's fun. We had a good conversation with Ellen, didn't we?
We did. It was wonderful. Lots of great information to share.
Yes. So now we're going to turn a little bit and just talk about a few topics that are going on that involve you and the commissioners. I know our board has been very involved with the National Association of Counties. You're on that board. You're chair of Healthy Counties Committee. Talk about that work a little bit, if you don't mind.
Oh, Deborah, that has been so exciting to be the chair of the Healthy Counties Committee nationally, because you get to hear nationally what's going on across the country. Now, my team, so I never do anything by myself except get in trouble. I get in trouble by myself, but I have a team that works with me on the Healthy Counties, and we have calls at least once a month or once every other month, and we talk about what are the things that are going on in Durham that we want to highlight, and then we have a meeting with the national team, and they talk about and share what we want to share with them that's happening here, and then look to see if it's something else that they want to share nationally. But we pull that together, and then we have a forum at a national conference. And this last conference that just happened in Texas, we had over 500 people that attended our conference. That was absolutely amazing. And one of the things that I just want to lift up was we had, I think, assistant manager. I don't know if he's assistant manager, but he's one of the managers in Mecklenburg County.
Yes, Anthony Trotman. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And he talked about the faith-based initiative that is happening in his community. It's something I'm really interested in having some conversation about in Durham. And also about homelessness is curable. It can happen. There are some initiatives that he's doing there that I also want to find out more about. But the thing about the national conference and getting together with commissioners from across the country is you learn so much. Durham does a great job, but there's always more that we can do and learn and bring back to our community.
Yeah, and that's very important, very important. Now, I know we're also very involved with the State Association, North Carolina Association of County Commissioners, and you actually are a former president of that group. Talk again about some of their priorities.
Well, their priorities are always looking at what is it that the counties are dealing with. What are the issues like emergency care, emergency management? That's one of the big things that they are always involved in, and anything to do with our taxes in our community, mental health, opioid, making sure that we as commissioners are informed about the latest things that's happening around those things. And then they also lobby the legislators for us. So they have a team of people that are always over at the legislature looking to see what's happening and making sure that we're informed. And so the conference we have a conference every year, and we all come together and have those meetings and just have a lot of conversation. And one of the things that is so important is commissioners getting together and looking to see what's happening in your community, what's happening in your county that I need to take back to my county.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I know not too long ago, you have attended an event that was sponsored by a sheriff around community safety. It was a Stop the Violence and Cease Fire event. What other work is Durham County doing with partners to help keep Durham County safe?
Well, Deborah, what I saw at that outing was there were so many services that are available. What he did was he brought services together so that people could see what's available out there. And they passed out literature, had conversations with people in the community to know that mental health services are available, crime prevention areas are there. MAME about Black maternal health. All of these things are available to people, and when they need help, it's available. And he did a great job. I think there were at least 30 different organizations that had their booths set up to have those conversations.
Great, great. Collaboration is very important.
Yeah.
So finally, is there anything else you want to mention as a priority?
Well, I know that there are so many things. I just want to lift up one thing that the community might want to attend. There is a engaging with diverse LGBTQ communities. There's a conference coming up on August the 29th that the community might want to weigh in on. Great information will be shared, and I think it's something our community would be interested in. So it's been, this is great, Deborah. There's so much that I'd like to share. We'll do it another time as we go to another session. But Durham is doing amazing, amazing work. And I'd just like to say one other thing, that our staff does the work. The commissioners gets the kudos, but we wouldn't get the kudos without the staff.
Yeah, it's our pleasure indeed. We're working as a team, doing great things for our community.
Thank you.
So I'm looking forward to having you continuing to co-host the show. We're going to have fun. We're going to have some exciting guests. We're going to share some wonderful information going forward.
Thank you. Look forward to it.
Yes. So we want to thank you all for joining us. Stay tuned next time for In Touch with Durham County. Cheers.